States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, so is there any additions or changes to the agenda?
We have one item to remove, item 8B.
Move the agenda as amended. All right. I got a motion to support, approve the old agenda. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on to the minutes for November 5th. All right, so I got a motion to support. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Now we're to limited public comments. If anybody in the gallery would like to make a comment, please come up to the podium and make a comment. If it is an agenda item, you can wait until that time to speak. Okay, seeing none, we move on to item number 6. First up in agency reporting, we have community mental health.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to update you this morning. It's great to see everyone. I'm Sarah Lurie, Chief Executive Officer of Community Mental Health Authority of Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham counties. We are the public behavioral health provider for Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham counties. This morning I put together a little one-pager. Hopefully everybody has it in front of you. I think it was put in your packet as well. And also just calling attention to a brief little contact card about our organization. I hope you'll share that with someone who maybe might be in need of some services or want more information, has information about how to access services, and then our 24/7 crisis services that are available. So in looking at the one-page handout, I wanted to start on the left side with some historical utilization data. We now have the data from 2025, so that includes that data. I've provided the last 3 years. So you can see, and this is service to Eaton County residents and to the Tri-County as a whole. You can see that we've been steadily increasing numbers of people served in Eaton County. Over the past 3 years, it's increased 26%. I've also included historical expenditures as well. So you can see over the past 3 years that the total amount that CMHA, CEI have expended on services for Eaton County residents. And you can also see how much county funding we received as well. So for example, in fiscal year 2025, this is the newest data, we expended $30,024,680 serving Eaton County residents and received $947,938 in county allocated funding. I think it's important for you to know where we serve Eaton County residents. I say all the time, we are so woven into the fabric of the community that you may really have no idea what a wide net that we cast. It is much bigger than the office facility that we have in Charlotte. We provide many, many, many of our services right in people's homes, home-based services, working with individuals and families. For example, we have our family guidance intensive services for youth with serious emotional disturbance that takes place in people's homes. We offer community living supports that help people with intellectual developmental disabilities or severe mental illness to navigate the community. And we also provide applied behavioral analysis services for autism in people's homes. Some of our Eaton County residents are also served 24/7 in adult foster care settings. We provide some of our services in the jail and the youth facility. I know you're aware of that. We operate Eaton County Counseling Center in Charlotte and Waverly Wellness Adult Outpatient Services in the Delta Township area. And we operate a youth respite home in the Delta Township area. Eaton County residents are also served in some of our Lansing-based facilities. The blue box on the right of this handout also highlights initiatives that are ongoing and some threats that we have on the horizon. The top part talks about our Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. We are a certified clinic. We're now in our 5th year of the 6th-year state demonstration project. It started with 13 original sites, increased to 30, and now has 36 sites across the state. CCBHCs are required to provide 9 specific services: psychiatric rehabilitation, peer support, counselor services, family supports, intensive community-based mental health care for members of the armed forces and for veterans are some of the examples of services that must be provided. We have to adhere to a rigorous set of certification standards, meet requirements of staffing, governance, care coordination, integration of physical and behavioral health, health technology, and quality metrics reporting. You have to be fully certified as a CCBHC by MDHHS as a site under the Michigan Demonstration Project. If you look on the handout, what I really wanted to stress a few of these bullets, that the increase that we're seeing across our service area and here in Eaton County can be attributed quite a bit to our role as part of the state demonstration project. It comes with a unique funding mechanism, and it has allowed us to open our doors wider, serve more people who we could not serve in the past, who have more moderate or mild conditions. We've also been able to serve more people who are on commercial insurance or who are uninsured, who would benefit from some of the specialty services that they can receive through us. So that's been a really good outcome with the CCBHC model and the demonstration. The model also comes with a focus on 24/7 crisis services. That's allowed us to expand our mobile crisis and our crisis urgent care. Crisis urgent care has added some services to our already existing 24/7 walk-in crisis services. It now has a nurse triage. When people enter, they get a triage about physical health as well, and it also allows for access to fairly immediate psychiatry services, which is very much a benefit and helps to potentially avoid a psychiatric hospitalization. It's also part of why we are pursuing and have been able to pursue the development of a crisis stabilization unit. That unit is part of what will be our new crisis care center that's currently under construction, well, not really construction, renovation on the former McLaren Green Lawn campus. We expect it to open hopefully next summer if everything goes well. The CCBHC model has also allowed us to expand our substance use disorder services, and that's an area we've seen the largest increase in. So 50% increase in individuals served over the past 4 years. We've also seen a huge increase in serving children. So the model has allowed us to expand our services to children at ages 0 to 17, and that has increased by 22% over the last 4 years. Other initiatives to be aware of, I mentioned the Crisis Care Center. We will be using the center to bring together many of our current existing crisis services, 24/7 services, that are now kind of scattered and plugged in some other locations into one facility. So it will be very easy for all of our community members to know this is where you come for crisis. It'll be easier for our law enforcement partners to drop people off who are experiencing a behavioral health crisis and know that we will have this full array of services in one location. So we will have, ground floor will be one side youth, one side adults. It will house our currently existing crisis services and urgent care. And then it will also, and our mobile crisis, we'll be adding the next level up, one side youth, one side adults, that crisis stabilization unit. That is what we are absolutely most excited about. It's a big gap in our community. It will allow us to safely hold people in a therapeutic environment, start treatment right away, and have them stay with us for up to 72 hours with access to psychiatry, nursing, therapeutic services. Ideally, it will be part of the solution where people will not get stuck in our hospital emergency rooms waiting for psychiatric placements. We know our emergency rooms do a great job, but it's just not the best environment for individuals with psychiatric conditions who are in a crisis. And it does take away some of the space needed in emergency departments for other health conditions as well. So we're hoping that this will make a dent in that. We're also hoping it will reduce the amount of psychiatric hospital placements that we need to make. We have a huge lack of availability in our community of psychiatric beds. And so we end up sending people far away. We send people to Detroit. We send people even out of state to Indiana in search of hospital beds. And it's even worse for youth than it is for adults. So the adult unit will have 14 beds. The youth unit will have 8. And we hope that it will help to keep people in our community receiving the services they need and getting them connected for long-term services. The other thing that will be housed at the Crisis Care Center is our 24/7 withdrawal management program, the Recovery Center, which has medically supervised detox, as well as Bridges Crisis Unit, which is a voluntary crisis residential program, often used as a step down from hospitalization or as an alternative to a psychiatric hospitalization. People stay anywhere from a week to 2 weeks or so to have access to psychiatry and services to help them get stabilized so that they can return home. So all of that will be housed in one location, and very excited about that. I also just want to remind people that we have some training offerings. We are available to go to organizations. We offer some of them online and in person in our facility in Lansing. Those are the mental health first aid, just like a regular first aid class. Mental health first aid teaches people how to recognize different behavioral health crises that people might be having and how to potentially intervene and assist people to getting the help that they need. It's very, very good training, and we wish every member of our community would have taken that training. We also have a question, persuade, refer training, which is a brief training that really teaches people how to help someone who is having a suicidal behavioral health crisis, how to talk with them, the right questions to ask, and how to encourage them and support them in getting help. It's just an hour-long training. It has some nice materials that come with it, and also just another great training for communities. Also, Zero Suicide is an internal training program that we're doing for all of our staff. It's designed to set that very important goal of zero suicide in a healthcare organization. And so it involves training all of our staff everyone from our custodians up to our medical director on that question, persuade, refer model, and then some more intensive training specific for clinicians on called ASSIST on therapeutic approaches to suicide prevention and intervention. So those are some initiatives going on. And of course, as always, we have some threats on the horizon that we're paying attention to, some challenges just to make you aware of. I know I've been here and have talked about the procurement that MDHHS is under for the prepaid inpatient health plan regions. Mid-State Health Network is our PIHP, and that procurement did go forward. There is a number of court challenges happening right now. As hearings are occurring next week, December 8th and 9th, around the legality of some of the language and expectations in the RFP, particularly as it relates to statutory requirements for community mental health organizations that appears would not be able to be met under what's proposed in the request for proposals. So we'll see how that plays out in the courts, but in the meantime, if everything goes forward, the plan is that the state will name the awards this month. Contracts will be in place by February, and the transition will happen October 2026. It's a huge undertaking, and of course, we are very worried about the disruption to services and to organizations and to the provider networks that we have put in place over the last 50 years. So stay tuned. We're not going away. Community mental health organizations will continue to exist. Our role and partnership with the counties are statutorily bound in the Michigan Mental Health Code, and so we will still be responsible for safety net services, and we will certainly be a contractor to whatever PIHP structures in place. We just hope that it is a structure that makes sense and is supportive to the people that we serve. We also have our eye, of course, on what will happen in January 2027 when the proposed Medicaid reductions and new regulations come into play. Certainly, we know it will reduce enrollment in Medicaid, but we have not heard from the state yet. I'm sure they are waiting for more federal information in terms of how the state will negotiate those changes, whether they will have to reduce services or funding to the public behavioral health system. So we'll keep everyone informed as we know more about that. And then, of course, we continue to struggle with what everybody is across the nation, and that's a shortage of behavioral health professionals, particularly our master's prepared therapists, nurses, and some of our direct care residential technicians. We've been holding hiring fairs. We have provided some incentives both to staff referrals of master's level candidates who become employed, as well as some incentives for candidates to accept employment. We also have sponsored a cohort of bachelor's level staff in pursuit of a master's of social work. We had one cohort where we have had 6 complete that. Once they complete that master's, they part of the deal is that they must work for 3 years in a master's level position for us. Otherwise, they have to pay us back for the investment that was made in their education. We're starting a second cohort of that. Hopefully that will start next fall. And really finding the best way to manage this shortage is to grow our own. So we also have expanded our internship programs. We've gone from in the past maybe hosting 25 interns a year to now 70 a year. And then we do everything we can to train and provide an excellent clinical experience for a master's level intern. And then we hope that many of them will be interested in working for us ongoing. And usually we've been able to hire 9 or 10 people as a result of the internship programs as well. So the last one, and I don't know if Callie's going to talk about it when she comes up to report at all, but we are very concerned about housing resources and reductions. As you can imagine, it's very important that we keep our individuals, particularly our individuals with severe mental health conditions, housed. Their treatment is much more effective, and they're much more able to keep people stable when they have a place to live. We are very reliant on HUD vouchers, the supportive, permanent supportive housing, and Shelter Plus vouchers. And there's new regulations that was just put out by HUD that are very much threatening the funding locally for those kinds of services. So we're doing what we can to advocate and educate on how important those vouchers and services are for our communities. That's it for me this morning, unless there are any questions that I can answer. Or I can try to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Sarah, for your report. I do have a couple questions for those at home that may be watching. I see that your services go to Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham County. Do you have physical locations in each one of those counties, like a physical building people can enter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have our Eaton County Counseling Center in Charlotte, the Waverly Wellness in Delta Township. We have a satellite also in St. John's and in Mason.
Okay. And does each location have the 24/7 walk-in clinic portion, or just certain locations?
The 24/7 walk-in is in Lansing at our Jolly Road facility, but we do have mobile crisis capability. So we are able to send, when it makes sense, when it's the best course of action, we're able to send our mobile crisis staff to people's homes or other community locations.
Okay, and one last question. You're currently accepting Medicaid or Medicare, like state MDHHS insurance and private pay insurance as well?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you so much.
And that is a key part of that certified community behavioral health clinic model. I do want to add, though, because it is confusing sometimes, the CCBHC model is mental health services. We are still bound by some different requirements under the mental health code for individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities. So the eligibility is different for folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to the Human Service Collaborative Council.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
I'm happy to be back. My name is Callie Brady. I'm the Executive Director of Eaton Community Health, but I'm here this morning as the chair of our Eaton County Human Service Collaborative Council. And I know I brought a whole packet. I'm not going to go through every single piece of it, but I wanted you all to have this information to review after this meeting or to go back and have, answer any questions that you might have. The Eaton County Human Service Collaborative Council is a collaborative body of human service agencies. It's pretty diverse cross-sector human service agencies and government organizations. Our commissioners, we have some commissioners who participate in that work. And it ranges from frontline workers all the way up to organizational leaders. We meet one time a month for 90 minutes. And a lot has happened in our HSCC work since the last time I was here to present. So we also have a steering committee of county leaders who make up, we meet together 6 times a year to help guide strategy of the Human Service Collaborative Council and kind of function as decision makers in that body. We also, within the Human Service Collaborative, have divided our work into 3 specific action teams. Those action teams were established in 2019 with 3 really specific priorities. One action team is very intent on working on increasing landlord engagement in affordable housing throughout Eaton County to help increase the amount of access that our residents have to affordable housing by targeting education with landlords on how to enroll in those programs and doing some myth busting around what those programs entail. We also have an action team that's been working together for the last couple of years on making it easier for Eaton County residents to access services that they need when they need them. And we have another action team that's been working together to coordinate care easier in Eaton County to help the process of sending and receiving referrals and making sure that there's a follow-up to referrals that are sent and received throughout the county across organizations. So our HSCC follows a collective impact approach. You guys can kind of check out the first page of the packet I gave you that has our strategies, our methodologies. It talks a little bit about what collective impact is and how we do this work together. I think the most important and primary function of that is our shared vision. You know, when we bring together all of these really diverse cross-sector organizations, we're not always going to have all of the same priorities or all of the same goals, but what we do together is we determine where are the areas of overlap, where do we all have shared priorities, and those are the things that we work on together throughout the year. And so you can see our shared vision in your packet. It goes through, it's our collective impact framework. It talks about some of the outcomes that we're looking for in measuring, and our mission and vision as an HSCC. So some of the key work that we've done this year, we pursued what we call radical listening, and that is a survey process that we started early in the year where we surveyed frontline workers across Eaton County, we surveyed residents across Eaton County, and we talked to organizational leaders to really understand what is it like to live in Eaton County, to try to access service and supports to meet your basic needs, and what is it like as a frontline worker to provide those services and supports. We pulled all of that data together, and we invited our HSCC members to come and do a data sense-making day with us so we could look at what we heard across the county from our frontline workers and from our residents and try to understand what does that mean and what does that mean to us in the Human Services Collaborative, and how can we use that information to prioritize our work. And so in your packet, I included a document of key findings. This is something that our steering committee and our backbone team put together for our Human Services Collaborative so that agencies that are members can really understand some of the key findings from that data. So I encourage you to look through and see what some of these say. It's a couple of pages. And with that key data, we also developed a data chat guide. This is something that we put together for our agency leaders to really be able to take this data outside of our HSCC and into their organizations to start to shift these systems and make some real changes in the work that we're doing. And so we provided a little guide on how we can encourage our organizations in Eaton County to think about what does this data mean, not just on a county level, but at a very specific organizational level. And then what we did in partnership with that is build some community action strategies. So you'll be able to take a look at what those action strategies look like for Eaton County leaders, for Eaton County frontline workers, and for Eaton County supervisors. This helps us all to understand not just what we're hearing from our frontline workers and from our residents on what it's like to live and work here in Eaton County, but what can we do to continue to meet our goals as an HSEC and make it easier for our residents to be getting connected to services, and making it easier for frontline workers who we see in the data are overwhelmed and frustrated with the burdensome process that we have in some of these spaces. And so we're really working together to make this a little bit more streamlined and a little bit easier. And we have invited, each year, we host a celebration event that happens every October. And this year at our celebration event, we invited everybody who participated to commit to some of those actions, so that the work that's happening within our monthly HSCC meetings is really work that is now kind of moving outside of that HSCC and into those organizations, and moving down into the processes and the workflows to make it easier. And it's really exciting for us to see this step in the work, to see our HSEC members and our Eaton County organizations really make some commitments to take that data and move it into actionable items. You'll see part of our celebration event is to acknowledge all of the achievements that have happened within our action team work. And so this year, the action teams created posters. I printed out these kind of a smaller size poster for you guys to review, to really be able to see what is the action team's goal? Why does this matter in this community, in this county? And what did we do throughout the course of this year to work on achieving those goals? And so some of the key notes from the Universal Referral Team is really working to connect frontline workers and build trust amongst cross-sector organizations, so that when referrals are sent, that there is a process for following up and a communication loop that can happen. We recognize that there is a big barrier to that was the lack of relationships happening here in Eaton County, with so much changing and shifting and staff turnovers, that when frontline workers send out a referral on behalf of somebody that they're working with, they're never really sure what happens to that referral, where does it go, what is the end result of that. And so we've been hosting a series of monthly meetings for those frontline workers to really get to know each other, talk about barriers that they're facing, talk about being able to educate each other on how to send referrals, who they should be going to, and what happens when referrals get sent over to them. We've received really good feedback from frontline workers who have participated in those meetings, that they've been really helpful in their process and have reduced some of their frustration and increased their understanding of what to do to make sure that their client or resident is getting connected to the services they're referring to. The landlord engagement team spent a lot of time this year working directly with landlords. They've hosted in-person and virtual education events to really help landlords understand the wide variety of affordable housing programs in this community, and how to work with these agencies in order to make sure that we have as many residents as possible accessing these affordable housing programs, and as many landlords as possible engaged in them. The last big project that this team has done isn't published publicly yet, but it is really exciting. They've created a short 3 to 5 minute video that can be published throughout Eaton County that really talks about the Eaton County affordable housing programs and what it's like. It interviews some landlords who have participated in it, it interviews some agencies, and it interviews some residents who are on affordable housing programs, and they are able to kind of share the impact that these programs have in their lives. And it's a really impactful video. We previewed the first draft of it at our October celebration, and that team is just finalizing that finished draft, and we'll be looking at ways to market that and publish that around Eaton County so that our landlords are able to get connected to that information. And then our easier to find access, easier to find and services team has really been working directly with 211 for the last few years and building trusted relationships and partnerships with our Central Michigan 211 to develop ways to make it easier for our residents and our frontline workers to really get access to up-to-date information on what services are available here in Eaton County, and make sure that it's easy for people to get access to those. And so you can find those posters in your packet if you want a little bit more information. There's data to support that work in the packet also. All of that local work has been something that we've been focused on here in Eaton County for a number of years now. I think I said at the beginning, these action teams formed in 2019. Something really exciting this year is that for the first time ever, the Eaton County Collaborative Council has partnered with the Ingham County Collaborative Council and the Clinton County Collaborative Council for some regional level work. And the priorities that we just talked about at a local level really have been lifted up to a regional level. The chairs of the 3 collaborative councils came together over the course of a year to talk about where there is some overlapping strategies. We have a lot of organizations who are tri-county organizations, and so their frontline workers are serving Eaton County residents, Ingham County residents, and Clinton County residents. And so we're looking at ways to streamline some of those services and make it easier for those frontline workers to be working together across county, and so that trickle down comes down to residents having easier access to those services. This has been really exciting. We received an SDOH funding opportunity from the state of Michigan to work on this regional collaboration together. What has resulted from that is what looks to be a pretty long-term partnership. We're in the early phases of it, but we wrapped up our first round of funding at the end of September, and the next few parts of your packet kind of talk a little bit about that work. Within that work, Eaton County was the fiduciary of those funds. We are leading that regional project, and we have developed a tri-county community information exchange advisory group of leaders from tri-county agencies who really looked at the idea of establishing a community information exchange in this region and what that might look like. And so we met together over the summer many times. These leaders prioritized what kinds of features would be needed in a community information exchange technology in order for them to utilize it in their organizations. There is a whole flyer here about the work of that CIE Advisory Council and what the end result was. And the end result was a recommendation that this region really explore one specific tool called Find Help. This tool would be a tool that could really help to be a one place where information is shared back and forth between agencies across the county, and referrals can be sent, the referrals can be communicated on, the loops can be closed, really help to streamline a lot of these processes. You can kind of see how that aligns with the work we've been doing here locally, on a local level with very little funding. And so having the opportunity to lift this local work up to a regional level and have an opportunity for a little bit more funding to support that work is really exciting for our space and our region here. The other part of that grant, it's called the Capital Cares Collaboration, is our regional collaboration. We developed in partnership with the Tri-County region and Central Michigan 211, we developed a new website. This is a new resource website for the Tri-County region called micapitalcares.org. This resource website utilizes all of the back-end coding from our Central Michigan 211 service and makes it much more user-friendly, resident-facing for our frontline workers and our residents to be able to find services that they're looking for on this website. The services that pop up are directly connected to our 211 database. And so this is a really exciting partnership. This is a beta version of this website. I encourage you all to check it out. Next time you run into somebody who's looking for something, encourage them to check out micapitalcares.org. Along with having linkable 211 resources readily available on that site, there is also a web page that hosts all of the trusted resource directories throughout the Tri-County region. So for those of you who may have a very specific organizational resource directory that you trust and you want to use, you can find an updated version of that on this website. There's also a shared calendar for resource-based events across the Tri-County region. So if somebody's looking to get connected to something and there might be a resource event available, they'll be able to locate that on this new resource website also. So this is a big win for us. We're really excited about this. It was a lot of work. This, over the summer, engaged a lot of residents and frontline workers to really understand what is the correct terminology, what is the language, what makes sense to you when you're looking for services to pay your water bill. What is the right language that you're looking for? What are you searching? And making sure that this language connects directly into that 211 database to make it easier for everybody. Looking forward, we are remaining committed to this regional effort with Ingham and Clinton counties and looking to expand some discussions around the CIE topic. It's very complicated, very complex, and very expensive. But this is something that I think all 3 counties have really committed to exploring further. We'll be hosting a demonstration from the Find Help platform in January that all 3 counties will be invited to kind of learn more, understand what this is, and understand how it might work inside their organization. We have paused our regular HSEC meetings for the moment. It's turbulent times for our human service agencies right now. Lots of changes, lots of things happening, lots of policy shifts, lots of funding shifts, lots of programs that are up in the air, lots of different communication methods happening. I know that our food agencies have really been going through a lot in November with all of the on and off with the food benefits and what's happening there. Like Sarah had mentioned with our housing sector, there's a lot of really significant changes in the upcoming HUD grant that will have very big impacts to the housing programs in Eaton County. We also understand there's a lot of healthcare changes happening around us. And so what we have decided to do inside the Eaton Human Service Collaborative is to host what we're calling some community listening sessions. We hosted our first one this last week for the food and early childhood sectors, and we invite some panelists from organizations in those sectors to talk to our human service our collaborative about what are the impacts that their agencies are facing because of these changes, what programs have changed, what programs haven't changed, how do we stay up to date with accurate information on that, and how can we help as a collaborative council support these organizations through these times. And we also ask them to let us know what's giving them hope right now. And the conversation that we hosted this week was really incredible, was very transparent, very, very meaningful, and really allowed kind of an opportunity to continue to build on the trust that we've built inside that human service collaborative. Next month, the community conversation will be focused on the employment sector. We'll also be talking a lot about resilience in times like this and what that means for the human service organizations in Eaton County. And then in February, we will be bringing in our housing sectors and our healthcare sectors to talk about these big changes that are happening in those sectors and what that means for Eaton County residents and Eaton County organizations. And then in March, we'll come back together, take a moment to really process what we've learned, what has changed here in Eaton County, what hasn't changed as far as our programs go, and where we may want to be focused for the next year. And so we will be reprioritizing some of our work. The 3 action teams that have been established since 2019 are very likely to shift to some new priorities in this coming year. But we, under the collective impact approach, we make sure that that's a really collaborative and group activity. So as I stand here as the chair, I'm not sure what those priorities will be in March. We'll work through that process at our March meeting and move forward from there. That's what I've got today. I know I left you guys with a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions on our work at the Human Services Collaborative? I will note that this Human Services Collaborative used to be funded by Eaton County, and that hasn't been the case for a number of years. ECH has been the fiduciary of the local work, so we do pay for a HSEC coordinator to help us get this work done and keep this momentum going, and we fund the work of those action teams. The work on the regional level is work that's been funded through the state of Michigan's SDOH hubs, and we're exploring other grant and funding opportunities to continue that work moving forward. But at this time, Eaton County is not funding any of this particular work. Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your report. There's a lot of information here, and it's difficult to get through it in that short order, but couple questions. Do you have a program that helps some of these people that you've spoken of find employment or better employment?
So the HSEC itself doesn't have programs, but the organizations that are members of the HSEC do. And so there are a number of organizations throughout Eaton County that have employment-type programs. Michigan Works, Eaton RESA, Peckham's iEarn program does some employment training. There's some workforce development programs in Eaton County. Those organizations are members of the HSEC, and they will be invited to be panelists for our next meeting as we talk about some of these employment programs that are available in our county.
All right, and a follow-up, well, not really, change of topic, but I hear a lot of talk about affordable housing. Could you give us your definition of exactly what affordable housing is?
Sure. I think that a pretty standard definition of what makes housing affordable is that the cost of housing should be 30% or less of somebody's household income. And so that can vary. What is affordable is really relative to a household income. The affordable housing programs that we have here in Eaton County that we call affordable housing programs include vouchers that maintain rent for a resident at 30%. So those types of programs, residents will be responsible for 30% of their income towards rent, and then programs will help cover some of the other remaining rent. We also have affordable housing programs like rapid rehousing, transitional housing, our permanent supportive housing programs, and all of those programs have those same guidelines. In order for housing to be deemed affordable, it should sit below that 30% guideline. Whatever your household income is, housing shouldn't be more than 30% of that.
So it's not so much a matter of the value of the property, it's more about the income of the person that would like to rent or own.
Or own, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, thank you.
That's what makes housing affordable.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions, we do have a resolution to continue participating with Collaborative Council. I got a motion and support. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you so much. I'll see you guys again next year.
Okay, moving on to number 7, committee appointments. Can you scroll up? Is that in the packet? Could you scroll up to that sheet?
Yes, it is in the packet.
Because I want to,
It's trying to get.
yeah. Okay, so the first one we had was the Clinton and Eaton Community Health Board, right? We only have one slot available and one person asking for a request for reappointment. Is Jason White here? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to reappoint Jason?
Yep, Jason White. Okay, so I got a motion. Do I have support?
Support.
Okay. Is there any discussion on it? Okay. All in favor with reappointing Jason White, signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Question on this next nomination, these next nominees. We have a Frederick Morris on here for Department of Human Services Board, and we also have a Frederick Morris on Eaton County Road Commission.
It's the same person. He requested multiple committees.
Right, I read that. So is Frederick Morris here today? I'd like him to let us know what he's most qualified in. These are two completely different appointments. I don't know, is he hoping that by the luck of the draw, he's going to end up with one?
Duly noted.
All the applicants were called and invited to attend, so there might be several applicants in the audience.
So could we have Mr. Morris step forward if he's here?
Yeah,
He doesn't appear to be.
it doesn't appear to be. Okay, so that clears that up at the moment. So that next appointment is the Department of Human Services Board, and there's one appointment available, and we have the 3 new applicants. So we obviously know Frederick Morris isn't here anymore. Would one of those 2 other applicants like to come up to the podium and speak to your qualifications and? Morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Teresa Root, and I applied for the vacancy on the Board of Human Services. In 2022, I retired from the department after 36 and a half years of working with the state. I ended up retiring out of central office from legal, being an appeals review officer representing actions taken by service workers, and then also appeals involving audits and children's special health care services. Before that, I've worked in 2 local offices. I worked in Genesee County as a children's foster care worker for about 4 years. And then for about 14 years, I was an adult protective services worker over in Van Buren County. I've had a lot of different experience with the department, both as serving clients and in representing the employees. I've had experience in local county levels and statewide level. I'm very well versed in complicated issues that impact multiple people. I'm used to working with groups of people. I'm also used to being independently motivated to complete projects as assigned. And I just wanted to make certain that you had a candidate to pick from.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, Commissioner.
You spent how many years in this field?
36 and a half years.
And then you retired,
Yes, I did.
and you want to go dive back in?
Well, the thing is, I was just getting used to retirement when, most unfortunately, breast cancer came along and hit me and gave me my new hairstyle, which I'm completely grateful for, to have one at all. And I'm getting back on my feet. And I feel like I've got a lot of experience under my belt. I've got a lot to give. I've started a cancer support group in Bellevue because I didn't think it was fair to drive an hour away to get support. I've got a bachelor's and master's in social work. I'm not trying to act in any kind of official capacity, but I've got a lot of it under my belt. And it's just time to use my experience to serve my community.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for this opportunity.
It's Michelle Bush is the next one.
Michelle, yes, you.
Good morning. So I also, like Teresa, have applied for the same position, right? The Department of Human Services Board. The extent of my experience is really with Eaton County Health and Rehab Services, otherwise known as Eaton County Medical Care Facility. I did work there for 17 years. The extent of my experience really had to do with keeping the facility sustainable, with looking at revenues, projections, were there missed opportunities where we could capture additional revenue to keep it sustainable. I started out there as a rehab manager, grew to the director of rehab, grew that department by 20 full-time employees, additional part-time employees. After that, my role became the director of clinical reimbursement. That led a lot with facilitating CMS regulations, compliance, Medicaid, Medicare, and other insurance billing. I was responsible to make sure that the clinical documentation matched that. I helped facilitate obtaining a billing company that would assist at a more cost-effective manner with the billing for services that were provided. I have extensive experience with cost reports, financials, looking for areas where costs can be cut, but still provide adequate and great care, in my opinion, that Eaton County Rehab provides. I mean, I think it's really phenomenal what they do over there. And I think it's important to make sure that that remains sustainable as well as the other programs that we have. So that is the extent of my experience. Any questions for me?
It doesn't look like. No, it doesn't look like.
No?
it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, so, do I have a?
Sure.
Yes.
Is it possible we could print this sheet off and use that as a ballot instead of doing a voice or roll call vote?
Sure. Admin? Please print.
Yeah, I'm printing right now.
All right, thank you.
We need a motion to call for a ballot vote, or we can just do it?
And I would suggest that once we vote on these on that paper, then we go through the next round of, so we turn in one sheet at the end of this thing rather than, is that all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, put something on the top that signifies it's yours, so that way, after they get done counting, they can
I'll print
hand
more.
it.
I'll print more.
No,
I
no,
was
no, no,
just
no,
trying
no.
to get this
No,
one done.
no, you don't print no more. We're trying to save money here. Jerosha, Toomey, Hanson, and Nicole. You counting? Who's counting? That's how we do it. Last time I
You were thinking just give them back.
yeah. So if they put something on the top, like I just put my initials. So. There's this one. This is your copy, so if you want to write the totals on that. That it? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, you're a few short. Yeah, it was like, that don't add. Yeah, no, I got you. Okay, so by ballot, Teresa, you were selected for that position, so congratulations. It'll go before the full board on, what day's the full board meeting? The 17th? Okay. Oh, the 7th? 17th. Oh, yeah. So it'll go in front of the full board on the 17th, so. Well, if you want to be, but you don't have to be, so. Well, thank you very much. Thank you both for applying. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to Tri-County Aging Advisory Council. I'm not good in English, even though it's my primary. I'm not going to say that word. So we have one partial and one full appointment, right? So Ruth Parsons is requesting a reappointment to the full, and then Michael Baker is.
Michael Baker called last night and asked to be withdrawn from consideration.
Oh, yeah, that's what you said earlier.
Yep.
Okay,
So we just have the reappointment of Ruth, and then we'll need to try and get another applicant.
yes. Okay, so do I have a motion for Ruth?
So move to appoint Ruth Pearson for the full appointment expiring December 31st of '28.
Thank you. I got a motion and support. All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Congratulations, Ruth. All right, so we're down to Road Commission. We have two appointments. We have, obviously, Frederick Morse is still on the ballot, however, he's not here. So would the three other applicants, one at a time, if you choose to speak, can come up to the lectern and say anything you want.
Good morning. I'm Dwayne Eldred. I'm from the Vermontville area, and I'm the current chairman of the Eaton County Road Commission. My involvement with the Road Commission goes back to 2007. I've been there quite a while, and I've seen a lot of changes over the years, and I'm proud to be involved with the changes that have happened. My direction has always been to make the Road Commission a user-friendly for our residents, and I think we've accomplished that, and the changes that were made are better for the residents of the county. I'm happy with the staff of our Road Commission. We've had a lot of retirement, so it's a younger staff. They're fairly well-trained, and as you can tell from the condition of the roads, that we're doing a good job, I believe. My community involvement over the years has been with the Parks Commission. I was a board member there. Eaton Farm Bureau, I was a board member there. Eaton County Fair Board, I was on that. And I was involved with the state of Michigan in the Whitetail Advisory Committee for a few years. I would be proud to serve again on the Road Commission, and I would look forward to a reappointment. Is there any questions? Yes.
What would you say in, like two positive, what can you done a road
Candidate should be somebody that can talk easily with the residents of the county. You have to be open-minded and listen to what's going on out there within the county. Road experience, I don't know if that's really necessary as much as people experience. Yes. You got to be a very good communicator. And you have to be open at all times. I get phone calls all day and night. I'm sure you do too, but I'm always open to listen to people. And I go to their homes and talk to them. If they got concerns, that's my concern. So I've made a lot of friends over the years from meeting all these people. Anything else?
Thank you, Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Would Michael or Mark want to come up? All right.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Bott. I've been a resident of the county since 1989, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to become part of a team that leads the development, maintenance, and overseeing of our roadway system for not only the residents of Eaton County, but also our visitors too. you probably get this. I'm a recent retiree. I retired January 31st, 2024 from the Michigan Department of Transportation, where I spent 35 years. When I graduated from Michigan Tech, I thought I'd be in road or bridge design. And unfortunately, I did a tour in traffic and safety thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the day this gets over. I tell you what, I fell in love with it the very first day. And I still have that passion for traffic and safety, particularly in the safety area, because it was a true investigation. What caused that crash and what can we do? And it's not just only the road agency. What can we do as a community to make that roadway safer? Because over 1,000 people die on our roadways every year. I believe in 24, 18 people unfortunately passed in Eaton County. So once again I feel my passion, my education, and my work experience, basically 33 years in traffic and safety, trying to make our roadways better. And just the whole idea when I travel down the roadway, I see something, what can we do to make this roadway better? And that involved, as was just pointed out, communications. Not always fun to go across the street to the Capitol to talk to legislators, but it has to be done in order to get some funding, perhaps, to identify what's the concern out there and what needs to be done. Working with different organizations like township boards, had to speak to quite a few of those different counties where you get to know the people. And once again, it's building those relationships. And that's why I feel I can offer not only in the education and the work experience I have, is those communication opportunities to, it was just as mentioned, it's a young staff, and I still have that passion to help teach the people. Even though I did retire, you just can't step away from your job. Just knowing that whatever you did could possibly brought that person home that night safely. So thank you very much.
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, with your background in traffic safety, and we've got some pretty nasty intersections in Eaton County, what are your we put up flashing lights and double stop signs and all this stuff. What are your feelings on rumble strips and that sort of thing?
Well, good, bad, and different. I brought rumble strips on the shoulders and the center lines for the state of Michigan. I guess the question is, are you talking like crossways?
For stop signs and that sort of thing.
Once again, I had an earlier discussion on roundabouts. There's the pros and cons. It does alert the driver. Unfortunately, a lot of these locations you put them in, what do you have next to the roadway? You have the homes. And they do increase, no ifs, ands, buts, they will increase noise. I would say a rumble strip is probably I don't want to say a last resort, a later on. I try to do the double up stop signs, put the flashers up. Sign materials are much better now than ever were before. Reflective strips on the posts. Once again, why is that person, and that's where maybe perhaps talking to law enforcement, why is that person not stopping? Are they distracted? Unfortunately, our cars do have a lot of distractions nowadays. But yeah, I would say rumble strips, I would support them, but near the end if we're still to continue having a problem.
Well, I'm 0.2 of a mile from a very hazardous intersection for whatever reason. I would rather hear the rumble strips than the sound of an accident. So I would vote for rumble strips.
And actually, that's a blessing to hear from a citizen, because generally it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I am not an advocate for roundabouts, so if you have any plans of doing that, you are not getting my vote.
What, proper place and time?
I don't think they're proper anywhere. I drove truck for 25 years.
A very nice Dimondale roundabout. I like that
I've
thing.
driven truck for 25 years, and the problem I encounter all the time is the roundabouts are too small to get a long vehicle through or a wide vehicle through. And we got a lot of agriculture here in Eaton County, as you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you try to run a combine that's towing a 30-foot head behind it, it's going to go across the middle. You can't
And that's
help
why they got
that.
to be properly designed.
And so I would say, yeah, for the most part, roundabouts are poorly designed by somebody that doesn't really understand what traffic is about, but they know how to design a roundabout.
Don't disagree with you at all, sir.
All right, thank you for your time.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Are you aware of the MDOT reconfiguration over in Delta Township between Canal Road and Broadbent? It came to MDOT's, it surfaced through the amount of accidents.
Oh, on M43, yes. I've been to a couple of the township board meetings, just as, once again, being recently retired, now I can sit back as that citizen and take a look at that. And yes, I'm aware. It's, well, I was trying to use a more polite word, but I would agree that there are solutions out there. Will everybody be happy, as you just pointed out, as roundabouts? And that's where I had the opportunity where you're just once again, talking as a citizen, and you're looking, well, we're gonna close this, and it's gonna be a U-turn or whatever, and I'm looking across where they're putting one, and I'm like, and I didn't realize I had Mr. Crippen standing next to me. And when I said, wow, that poor dealership, how are they gonna get their car haulers in and out? And he looked at me and smiled, and he says, yeah, what are you gonna do about that? And it's just, sometimes it is compromise. But I would agree with the word that you used.
And I would also say that I would agree with Commissioner Drosha that there's a roundabout on the bypass on M43 in Grand Ledge. And
Or outside the high school, yes.
Oh, geez.
Yes.
Couldn't have made it a few feet wider so you could spread it out a little. So I'm just, road commission, and I've had good luck with our new director, Matt Hanna. So I know he listens well. And I would appreciate people with experience being on the board to help Matt, because yes.
It's experience, and it was also brought up earlier, the willing to communicate, the willing to talk. Not always going to have agreements, of course, but as long as you have that open communication and an understanding of each other, that's truly key.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing none other, thank you very much. You'd like to come up? All right.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Atan. I applied for citizen involvement with the Road Commission. And as you notice on my application, I put down road repair, including construction and water site management, stormwater, construction site management, grant writing, ability to communicate effectively with others. One of the things I would really like to comment on, and I really enjoyed candidate number 2 bringing up, what can we do better? How can we improve? What are some of the things we can do better? And as I was listening to his nice presentation, one thing came up to my mind, being a citizen in the community my whole life, knowing all the roads, being the former drain commissioner. I've worked in cooperation with MDOT when they did the extensive reconstruction on M43, very successfully. But again, with candidate number 2, he brought up, what can we redo? What can be improved? How can these things be done better? As a former president of the CERT team for Charlotte as well as Eaton Rapids, Community Emergency Response Team, when we looked at doing things, we looked at what's the most good for the most people. And whenever there was an event, we would always look after the event. What can we do? How can we improve this better for next time? Again, referencing candidate number 2, saying how things can improve, I look at being involved with emergency services right now through towing, and I see repeatedly all the time on these main roads, we need to have an approach a little bit better on the snow plowing. It's not let the snow stop, let all the ice build up, and then for 3 days scrape the ice. We're out there responding to accidents, and many of these are simple ones that could have been avoided. We need to change this approach of have everybody there 3 days after the event and not working, during the event, especially on the main roads. I think with a little bit of proper planning, I think that could be well achieved. We are very, very fortunate in our community to still have a road commission and not have a road department. And under the leadership of Matt, he has been extremely effective. I've worked together with him as drain commissioner. They have a great staff there. I enjoy all the people. Most recently, they did a road update in my neighborhood in Delta Township, and it was fantastic. They did a great job, and I really would like to be part of this great team. I enjoy speaking with the public, like Commissioner Eldridge had mentioned. I enjoy answering questions and trying to seek some common goals, and sometimes just some good communication and bringing everybody along to the understanding. Everybody's at different levels. Some people maybe understand a problem a little bit easier. Sometimes you have to go over it each time. And I know, being the former drain commissioner, when you go to each municipality or each resident, everybody, I don't refer to it as idiosyncrasies, but everybody has their own uniquenesses. And it takes a lot of time and patience, working with different folks, answering questions, doing research, and being available. Being available so when somebody calls you, you answer the phone, or you get back to them quickly. People want, rapid response. I think I'm the person for this job, and if you could please give me consideration, I appreciate it. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, everybody got their, what's up?
So I just want to, I misunderstood when it was called just to go around the room to select them. I thought that that was just to make it easier for everyone, but I believe we need to read those.
Who voted for who?
Yeah, based on the board rules that we would, the chairperson vote for the board chair can be by secret ballot, but all other is roll call. Like we did with the.
There's not a provision in the board rules to do a secret ballot.
So I did think that when we were done, we were going to read them, but I was asking staff and they said no, they thought it was by secret. So I do want, when we're done, to go read which action each commissioner took. Okay.
Okay. All right, so just clarify, because I'm not the smartest one on the board here. We're gonna go ahead and keep on marking on your ballot, and then when it gets up here, and then afterwards, either I myself or Claudine will read each individual's vote, because it's only gonna be 2 departments, right? Because we did the other 2, so it's gonna be for the Department of Human Services Board and the Road Commission. She'll read how each commissioner voted.
Yes.
Okay.
And then this will go to the full board, so we'll do the same thing there.
Why don't we just vote?
Yeah.
Well, you can now if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, throw your papers away and start voting.
Okay.
So just roll call.
For each of them, if you want to do
Okay.
it that way, Claudine.
I don't care.
I think at this point, it's probably easier.
Well, it's a
to pass the
nomination.
Papers up, because there's 2.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just the transparency
Hey,
for
listen,
the
listen,
public
this
to
is,
know.
it's your board. I'm just sitting.
Not my board. It's your board.
I mean, you keep on telling me what to do, so.
You want me to make sure that we follow the legal process, right? Yeah.
That's, yeah. So you're
That's
telling
what
me-
you pay me for.
So what you're telling me what to do?
Ben, can you count them?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all the commissioners voting quickly, so that way we can tally the votes.
Commissioner Pearl Wright for Dwayne Eldred, yes. How, do you want to go by person probably would be easiest? So we'll do Dwayne Eldred's first and then go back and do the other ones, or do you want me to do them all at once?
I think you just do each commissioner, and then that way,
Yeah, just each commissioner.
Okay, so
Oh, I-
Commissioner Pearl Wright, Dwayne Eldred, yes, and Mark Bott, yes.
you gotta go back to the first one, the Department of Human Services, state that one too.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, just do road commission since you.
Yeah, I'll do
done that
this
now.
and, sorry, and then I'll go back to that one, sorry. Commissioner Whitaker, Dwayne Eldred, yes, Mark Bott, yes. Commissioner Christensen, Dwayne Eldred, yes, and Micah Tayan, yes. Commissioner Hanson, Dwayne Eldred, yes. Mike Atayan, yes. I was trying to watch and see. Dwayne Eldred and Mike Atayan. Commissioner Toomey, Dwayne Eldred, and Mark Bott, yes. Commissioner DeRosa, Dwayne Eldred, and Mark Bott, yes. Commissioner Barber, Dwayne Eldred, and Mark Bott, yes.
Not the whole board, so he doesn't have to take his shoes off.
All right, so,
I don't know, you gotta say the number.
all right, so Dwayne Eldred with 7 votes, yes. Mike Atayan with 2 votes, yes. Mark Bott with 5 votes, yes. And Frederick Morris with no votes, yes.
Okay.
Correct. So what of those will get recommended to the board then?
Yes. All right, well, thank you all for applying, and Dwayne and Mark, at the full board meeting on the 17th, I'll be putting your names forward for those spots. Thank you.
Appointments though?
Say again?
We just have 2 people and 2 appointments.
Yes.
Correct.
So no one, where's the board decision?
Correct. So I will go back through and read through the Department of Human Services Board. So Keith Barber, Teresa Root, yes. Brian DeRosa, Michelle Bush, yes. Commissioner Toomey, Teresa Root, yes. Commissioner Hanson, Michelle Bush, yes. Commissioner Christensen, Teresa Root, yes. Jane Whitaker, Teresa Root, yes. And Commissioner Pearl Wright, Bush, yes. So Bush was 3 and Teresa Root was 5. No, 4. So 4, 2, 3 in favor of Teresa Root.
What was the last one for Michelle Bush?
All right, so we're ready to move on.
It's Brian DeRosa.
Goes to the full board? Yeah. Okay, so we're,
So I did get an application in my email box while we were sitting here for Tri-County Office on Aging.
maybe they're watching.
So, no, it was, I don't think so. But anyway, do you want me to run some copies of that so people can look at it and do that one right now as long as we're here, or would you prefer to wait?
What are you saying, Claudine? I missed that.
Since we didn't have an applicant for the Tri-County Office of Aging, right?
Advisory Council.
Oh, yeah, the Advisory Council. We didn't have that other, but she just got an applicant.
Was
So,
there a deadline on the?
There was, but we didn't have any applications received.
Okay, so let me just clarify. This committee is making the recommendation, and I'm going to verify it, but right now thinking, my legal mind not, but if it gets to the board could not appoint one of those. Someone. You wouldn't get the votes for a person to be appointed. Do you know what I mean? So somebody could recommend another person, and I believe that happened one year, I will verify it before it goes to the full board, because you're making the recommendation based on your expertise in these areas. So it could be that the board puts up another person, nominates a person. See what I mean? Okay. I just want to make that clear, so we could vote on that now for the Tri-County Office on Aging, if you want her to print it off. Or
What was the deadline for applicants?
November 21st.
November 21st? I would recommend that we just postpone that until we get that information till the next meeting, so that'd be January of next year.
Support.
Okay.
do you want it reposted, just to make sure that we're clear?
I would, yes.
Okay.
You don't have a question no more?
And
Right.
then did we vote on the road commission ones? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
That was
We will,
I
we
just
will
wanted to
get
make, I
through
didn't
this
know if somebody
circus.
made a motion after the vote. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Toomey to postpone this. Do I have a support?
Yeah, it was moved and supported.
Okay, moved and supported.
Just
Yeah,
for the advisory.
just for that one.
For the partial term, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so,
I think there's some discussion going on yet.
No, we're good. We're clear.
okay. All right, so the motion and support is to postpone that one appointment, it's a partial appointment, to the January Public Works Board and to republish.
I love it.
Okay. All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, ayes have it. So we're postponing. Okay. Now that is all done. We can move on to number 8, construction codes and planning and zoning.
Good morning. I am here in Chris Garrison's absence. He is on vacation for the week. The Planning Commission met last evening, and they considered all applications and approved them with the exception of DCA 1225-5. The applicants on that application were Mr. Terry Smythe, the owner of the Narrow Lake Country Store, and the late Kanda Jean Anthony. As Kanda was one of the applicants, she had just passed away in the past week or so. So Mr. Smythe has requested to have that application postponed to the January 6th Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission is meeting again tonight, where they'll be considering 10 applications. Are there any questions about the report as it was given?
I see none.
Okay. An action item for you is to consider DCA 1225-6. That is a request by Mr. Curtis and Mr. Hawk. They own a piece of property in Section 6 of Sunfield Township. The property is 1.76 acres. It is currently dual zoned local business C1 and limited agricultural. They would like to rezone it from that dual zoning to general business C2. The property is master planned as general business C2. The 8 planning commission members that were in attendance last night all voted in favor, and Sunfield Township is in favor of this request. So this is an action item for you to consider to go to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay. So I go ahead and move that? No, I did. I moved it. I'm just waiting to see if I can get some support. Okay. All right, so open it up for discussion then? Yes, Commissioner Drosha.
Mr. Chair, and thank you, Brandy. What is the purpose of this rezoning? It doesn't say what the intended use is after the rezoning if it's passed.
So the Planning Commission, while they can ask the question, it's not based on that rezoning, but their intended use is to sell farm implements and boats.
Okay.
You can't do that in low density or in local business zoning, C1. The property, they just recently purchased it this past summer. Since 1964, it had an approved use as a shop and boat storage.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Oh, yes, Commissioner Holmes.
Just a comment, it's easier understood, it's on the corner of 66th and 43. I mean, the legal description for me when I travel that way, it's right on the corner, the northeast corner of 43 and 66. That's all.
Okay.
Is that within Eaton County?
It is.
66 and 43? I thought that was Berry County out there.
Northeast corner.
Road is.
Ours.
Really? Okay, thank you.
Speedway.
Okay, so we got a motion and support of approving this. All in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Nice.
all right. Moving on to item D, planning and zoning extension discussion. Who wants to carry this on?
Well, I'll ask permission to.
Don't, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm interested in what you
All
have to
right.
say.
So at Ways and Means, the Ways and Means Committee and then the full board made the decision that the county had the funds to extend it to June 30. The decision by this body and then the full board would be to solidify whether or not you want to repeal the ordinance effective any date, use the June 30 date because that's what the budget allows or supports. So that's what you're doing today. You're going to give consideration to that. What staff was asked to do was to talk to the person who is doing the master plan, who's here today, to discuss the possibility of the county continuing with the master plan if we can use the state funds through MISTA that we have right now, which is $50,000. And then the townships, meaning all townships, even if they've already decided and posted their notice to do their own commission, then they could use the master plan as their start to what they're doing, which would save them that time and the money if they start with that. Now, obviously, they're going to change it to what they want their community to look like. So that's how that would go. So what I want to do is invite Jason Ball, who is our consultant contractor, who is doing the master plan, to come up and talk. There's materials that we just received, or we were able to put in the packet this morning that Jason had sent last night. I'll preface this with Mr. Ball is an expert in planning and zoning, and obviously is very passionate about it, and he is willing to assist us and assist townships. He would work for the county utilizing those county funds, but he's willing to do that. And when Claudine and I met with him, we were very clear that so far what the board has done is decide they're going to repeal it because it is a non-mandated service. It's selecting the date. But just like the Planning Commission making the recommendation to this body and the board was to continue with countywide planning and zoning, given the fact that that is what they do, right? So they're recommending what they believe is important for the county. And then this board making the decision to repeal it. So he is, again, very passionate. He has a lot of experience. He cares about countywide, and I'll let him talk about it, but that's what he's going to speak about, because I think for him, in terms of he's willing to contract to do these other services, I think he wants to make sure that the county understands what it means and that the townships understand what it means, which is, again, what he would talk about, I think, and you can correct me, Jason, if I'm wrong, he would talk about if he was meeting in a group meeting with the townships. So from that, I'll let Mr. Ball present.
Thank you all for having me this morning. Again, my name is Jason Ball. I'm a senior planner and the team lead for our urban design and planning practice at Progressive Companies. We have offices in Grand Rapids and Detroit. I've been involved with the county in a couple different capacities over the last several years. I was the lead consultant on updating the current master plan that was finalized in 2024. And then we were contracted to provide some assistance to date. Do you all have two memos for me that were sent to the county, one dated October and one dated just a couple weeks ago?
They're not in the packet right now, but those were provided previously.
So you all have seen those. Okay, so the presentation I sent last night just clarifies those memos. I apologize for the late notice. I didn't realize I was making a presentation until Monday. And I was out of the office most of the day yesterday, so I apologize, you just got it. So I'm going to look over your shoulder since I can't see behind me, if that's all right. Just to clarify, the current contract we have with the county that is funded through a grant from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority does three things. The first was to implement some goals of the 2024 Eaton County Master Plan as related to making updates to the zoning code. The second, so I'm sure I get these things right, was to revise the structure of the current zoning code to make it easier to use, both for county staff as well as local units of government. The third thing, and the reason it's in bold, because really this was the heavy lift, was to revise the zoning ordinance to allow cities and villages that had expressed interest in coming under the county zoning jurisdiction to do so. Obviously, that's now on hold, given the county's consideration of repealing the zoning code. So the couple of, thank you, Claudine, the couple of memos that we sent to clarify the sort of status of our work, to you all, the first, which I think was dated the 31st of October, really sort of laid out what the benefits were for county, or what the benefits of county zoning are. I mean, those are sort of three things that I'll just sort of very briefly point out. The first is consistency. As I'm sure you all are aware, having common zoning code and standards as well as processes for development approval across 11 townships provides a lot of advantages over having separate processes for review and approval across those jurisdictions. There is an opportunity for townships to partner together through what's called a joint planning commission. We don't have a lot of those in Michigan. There are a few. That is an option. I will say that it's not something that's used a ton in Michigan, and there are a bunch of good reasons why. I'm happy to talk through that if you're interested. The second reason relates to what's called an exclusionary zoning. In Michigan law, if you do zoning, if you have a zoning jurisdiction, whatever the size is, if you're a small village or you're a township or a county, you have to allow for every legal land use to be reasonably developed within your zoning jurisdiction. So what that means practically is right now, Eaton County, within the 11 townships that it zones for, has to provide for industrial development somewhere within those 11 townships in the places where it makes sense. If those 11 townships go to do zoning on their own, all 11 townships have to provide a location for industrial development. Just like they have to provide locations for gravel mines, and they have to provide locations for adult bookstores or other what we in planning call locally unwanted land uses, right? So there's a lot of benefit in spreading those uses across a larger jurisdiction. When that zoning jurisdiction gets shrunk to each individual township, they're then sort of pockmarked all over the county. The last is just a fiscal issue. There's a real significant cost to moving away from county zoning that's not necessarily borne by the county, but it will be borne by all the local units of government and taxpayers. So each township will need to adopt their own code, they'll need to adopt their own plan. Again, if they do that jointly, there may be some cost savings. Our first memo gives a rough approximation for what that cost is. There's nothing in my information that sort of identifies this. Our understanding is there have been some opportunities to potentially be sure that the service the county provides is revenue neutral. You all are in uncharted territory on this. There are about a half dozen or so counties across the state that do countywide zoning. I think they're all probably facing similar questions that you are, because for a long time, this has been something that counties have sort of done out of the kindness of their hearts without necessarily revenue to support it. So as you all are exploring opportunities to be sure that if you've already made the decision, it is what it is. There is, from my perspective, a clear opportunity to have it be a service that's revenue neutral, that really provides a lot of the benefits we've talked through. The big reason for that, and sort of my, as a professional planner, push for you to really consider this decision very carefully, is because there have been a lot of changes to demands for rural land use in the last 5 years that are pretty significant. If we were having this conversation 5 years ago, I would tell you that I don't think this is that big of an issue, and lots of your local townships can probably do without zoning because they don't have that much demand for development. With things like large renewable energy centers, battery energy storage facilities, as well as things like data centers that we're now seeing crop up, there are demands for uses in rural places that we haven't seen before, and how those things get cited and permitted is very complex. And it's really important that you have folks that are doing that review process that know what they're doing and have been through it. As you consider sort of pushing that responsibility out to a variety of townships, you're going to have new planning commissioners, new zoning board of appeals members that don't have that experience. And so it's going to be a challenge for a little while for folks to understand what they're doing. So the second memo we sent you, in addition to providing options for our contract, just lays out, gives a couple of examples of those kinds of issues that have come up in other communities. One's from Saline Township. You may have seen it in the news for a data center. There, in the article, they very clearly call out the exclusionary zoning issue. So the township didn't allow any industrial development. There was no industrial land use on its zoning map. And so the developer said, you're exclusionarily zoning, and went to court and was awarded or won in court because the township was essentially breaking state law on how it had its zoning map set up. The other article relates to Peninsula Township, obviously very different context. Peninsula Township is the little peninsula that goes up between the Middle and Grand Traverse Bay. The reason I point that out is because one of the things that's occurring right now in this kind of work is suddenly there are serious financial consequences for local units government related to land use decisions. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be that land use decisions didn't have a serious financial component most of the time. That's changing. So the risk, the liability that everyone inherits as taking on this responsibility for zoning is substantial and growing. The third example is from a township up in Antrim County that's considering revoking their zoning code. The reason we sent that is just because it does a good example of sort of describing what the benefit of zoning. Again, I'm biased here because I'm a planner, it's my job. But what zoning does is it levels the playing field. So everybody has to comply, regardless of whether you're a large landowner or small, you're a wealthy business person or not, everybody has to comply with the same ordinance and code. When zoning goes away, the reality is that land use decisions accrue to those that have large lots of land and deep pockets. And so that article from Burns Township, I think, does a good job of pointing out the township wrestling with whether or not they want to revoke their zoning ordinance over what is essentially really large gravel mining operation that are extremely profitable and potentially fruitful for the owner. But without county zoning, that decision is no decision. I can do that, I can make that use happen as a property owner whenever I so choose, without the same sort of restrictions and safeguards I have from a zoning perspective. So in terms of our options for contracting and moving forward, I guess just to clarify Ms. Sobey's point, there's a slide that lists our current contract. So there are 2 things in our current contract, or there are 5 things in our current contract, the first 2 of which are substantially complete. One is an audit of this current zoning code, again, based on those previous goals we had. The second is a simple update to the master plan that was intended to provide for those cities and villages that were interested in coming under the county's zoning jurisdiction. Both of those things are essentially done. They need to be reviewed and finalized by staff. They've all been on hold since August or September when this discussion started to become relevant. In terms of whether or not you could utilize, there is no reason to update the current plan to provide additional guidance for the 11 townships under the county zoning jurisdiction. No update is required. Your current plan does that. Our update under this code was about providing options for cities and villages, that wanted to come in under county zoning code. It doesn't apply to all cities and villages. So the current plan as it exists can provide guidance for those townships if they want to move away from your current code, but it doesn't give the full guidance they need because of that exclusionary zoning issue, right? You're providing industrial use across 11 townships. They need to think about land use for their individual township or whatever their zoning jurisdiction is. So it helps, but it's not enough. One of the standards in Michigan state law is zoning has to be based on a plan. I don't know that your county plan, I'm not an attorney, I don't know that your county plan would necessarily be enough for any township to write a zoning code because it doesn't give them guidance on where they should put their zoning boundaries on a map. So this is a tricky situation. Again, like I mentioned, you all are in a place that is unique. I don't know of other counties in Michigan, at least not in recent history, that have repealed a countywide zoning code. So you're sort of in uncharted territory, unfortunately. So what we're sort of, in terms of options for moving forward with our contract, the first option, as I think Ms. Sobey mentioned, and certainly our preference would be to continue on with it as it exists and make the county code work. If that's not the world that we're in, we have offered, I do a lot of training with the Michigan Association of Planning across the state. We have offered to explore the opportunity to host kind of a workshop with the Michigan Association of Planning and hopefully also with the Michigan Townships Association to provide some guidance for townships as they move forward in this new kind of situation. We haven't reached out to either of those organizations yet because we didn't want to do so preemptively until we had some sense of what direction you're going to head. That could potentially also include providing very simple model language or samples for folks they could base those decisions on as they move forward. But again, we have to understand exactly what we're working with before we do that. The last option is just to cancel our existing contract as it exists. We've been paid through our last invoice. And then you could work out with the State Housing Development Authority kind of what the impacts are there for your grant agreement. Happy to answer any questions or go back through any of that with you. I know you all have a long meeting today, and I'm trying to be as brief as I can.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We saw a map recently, and I can't remember what agency put it out, but it was, I want to say MSU Extension perhaps. But anyway, it indicated that out of Michigan's 83 counties, there were only actually 2 that had full countywide planning and zoning. Eaton County wasn't even included that because we have 4 charter townships, but the vast majority of the counties in Michigan had planning and zoning at the township level.
That's correct.
So how are we, you said there was a handful, 2's not a handful, and we're certainly not charting uncharted territory here.
Well, there are 2 directly adjacent to you that are the same way, right? Or not directly, but Clinton County has countywide zoning, right? So does Shiawassee. It's not every township. They have some charter townships that aren't included, but they're like you. As you work sort of up the middle of the state, there are several other counties that also have countywide zoning offices. Gladwin County does, Sheboygan County does. There are others that I can't name off the top of my head. But
I only saw 2 in the UP, to be honest with you. Just two in the UP was all that was listed on that map.
But I think those are those that don't have any charter townships that would have opted out, right? So for those, county border to county border, countywide zoning, the others are in a similar situation that you all are, where some townships are in, some townships are out. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand that, yes. But my point remains the same, that we're not a minority here by any means by opting out of countywide planning and zoning. The other thing is we pretty much made that decision because of our finances. So the point here is, can we extend this for any length of time? And I'd like to reiterate a point that was made at Ways and Means is that this money comes from the permit process, and the fewer permits purchased, the fewer the funds available to continue this. So my question then comes back to the ordinances. If the townships each adopt our county ordinance book as written now, then how would the zoning countywide change?
Well, so the township, so there are 2 pieces to zoning. There's an ordinance and there's a map, okay? So the map, they can't adopt because it would be exclusionary.
But they could adopt portions of it.
They could, and then we'd have to revise it. Let me be clear, there is no countywide zoning map on a wall anywhere at Eaton County, right? It is your county GIS system. You go and you click on a parcel to find out what it is, because literally printing that map, it's like too big to be able to read easily. So townships could work with your county GIS system to sort of produce their own map. That map will be inconsistent with your county plan, because your county plan plans for the whole county. That then puts them in a place where they need to create their own plan to clarify how they're planning for land use within their township. Your county zoning code may or may not work for them because it may or may not include zoning district descriptions that are relevant for their township or not. To adopt it wholesale and apply it to each township would be, I mean, again, I'm not an attorney, I think might be feasible, but I think it's highly likely that it produces a lot of unforeseen consequences. I'd be very hesitant about that as a professional planner. Just because, again, that countywide code has been written for 11 jurisdictions or across the county as a whole, not for any one individual township.
Okay, well, my district serves a charter town, a portion of a charter township and a portion of a general law township. And when the map was presented at our general law township, there was a lot of discussion as to why the county changed some of the zoning without the input or with limited input from the township. And I think that's one of the reasons that some of the townships are opting to go with their own planning and zoning, so that they have more local control over that. But certainly they could adopt that map as a starting point and modify it as needed. Would that be correct?
I mean, they can't adopt any map as a starting point. You either adopt a map or you don't, right? So they could start with that as a place to start, then build a map that they could adopt. In terms of changing zoning, I'm not familiar with any zoning decisions at the county. I haven't been part of those. If you're referring to changes from the master plan perspective, I can say that during the master plan update that was adopted in 2024, we met specifically with every township and went through the future land use plan to confirm that it was appropriate for them. So if somebody felt like that decision wasn't made with them, I'm sorry that happened, but we were trying to be very purposeful. And that's why the plan has separate land use maps for every individual township at the end, to be sure that they were clear on that. No zoning was changed as a result of that plan update. It was just the future land use map.
Okay, and then as far as the ordinances, they're not specific to locations in Eaton County. It's a kind of generalized. So why couldn't the townships adopt those ordinances?
Yeah, so those ordinances are written to be relatively general, and they provide for things across the county. So if every township were to adopt some version of that ordinance and apply it to itself, it may work fine. I can't speak to it because I haven't looked at it in that way. I'd be very cautious of that. You have a countywide code that's been written and amended to do what it does at a countywide level. To apply that at each individual township, I think it might be a fine starting point, but I can't speak to it. I'd be very hesitant with that. I think and again, your township should consult with their respective attorneys to find out if that's a good approach.
Well, and I agree with you on that it would be a fine starting point. They don't have to continue with it unless they want to, but it would just be a way to minimize the upstart costs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to, so I'm from a township that broke off from the county and started its own zoning ordinance. So yes, the ordinance and the map you can adopt as your end term, right, for 3 years. So you can adjust the ordinance and the map as you see fit. You have 3 years in which to do that. But I have a question for you. You said in your presentation that you can make this department revenue neutral. I'm interested. Explain.
Look, so I can't explain much that I haven't been a part of that, right? I know very brief conversations we had with the planning and zoning department as they were working through this earlier this summer. There was an effort to look at contracting with townships to provide that service and then increasing the fee structure to be sure that it was a revenue neutral, essentially, effort. I don't know the details on that. It's not been part of our scope. I would love to help you figure that out. I'd do it on my own time. But I can't speak to the details. I don't know.
I mean, I maybe misheard you, but I thought you said that you could make it revenue neutral. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Oh, yes, Commissioner.
Okay, so I'm from Delta, so it really doesn't affect me.
Sure.
Because I moved in 1981 and we had one already up here.
Yeah.
So, but as far as what I just heard you say, we had offered all of the unchartered townships to put in like $15,000 a year. And then at the end of the year, it would be looked at to see, do we need to reduce the 15 because we didn't spend it all, or do we need to increase it? Because we don't really know where we're going.
Sure.
With also the fee changes.
Yeah.
Now, if each township goes out and does their own thing, okay, similar to what Delta will do, which would be have their own people appointed to a planning commission and blah, 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 then they also would have to designate those exclusions in each one of those townships, correct?
So not exclusions, they have to designate those land uses in each township. So industrial land use, all 11 townships have to have some industrial land use.
Okay, so I think Clinton County at one time also had to have a mobile home park for some reason. Okay, so each township needs to be aware that if they move off this overall master plan, that they are still going to end up with things that they probably are not in favor of, because they're going to have those exclusions put into some type of designated zoning and map and whatever else that's legal. Then if they do something wrong, they're also going to have to bear the burden when they have to go to court because something wasn't done right, or somebody else wasn't happy, or some company comes in and says, like they did in Saline,
Correct.
I win, you lose because you didn't do it right.
And I think what I was trying to communicate there, so I agree with you 100%, was that the key to being sure that decision happens well is your process and being sure that you keep good records and that your board and commissions understands how that works and they've been through it. For everybody starting brand new, that's a heavy lift, right? And it's a heavy lift right now, particularly given the environment we're in, with demand for lots of large, rural, sort of semi-industrial land uses that weren't really a thing 5 years ago that are very much a thing today.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was hearing what you were saying, because I still have to vote,
Yep,
but I'm not,
and that is what I was saying.
okay.
Commissioner Schaefer.
I know this might not be specifically part of the purview of this discussion from your standpoint, but you did mention hesitancy that you had in the approach to the interlocal agreement for a joint zoning. Can you just describe that? Because I know that there are some people that aren't here that are watching that would like your viewpoint on that.
Yeah, so the ability to do that is defined by what's called the Michigan Joint Planning Act. The act itself is really short. It's 2.5 pages long. And basically what it says is that you can adopt an ordinance as a local unit of government to do joint planning with another local unit of government, and it has very few sort of guideposts around that. There's a lot of flexibility. What's commonly happened with those across the state is once they're initially established, it's fine. But what happens with any kind of zoning work is over time, you have to make amendments to adjust, right? The joint group that's defined to work together can't revise an ordinance. That ordinance revision still has to happen at the legislative body level, the township board. So if we have 4 townships that are joint planning together and everything's great for 3 years and then something changes about state law and we have to provide the ordinance, we need 4 township boards to all approve the amendment. That takes a lot of time. It can be time, and it's difficult to get 4 groups of elected officials to agree on something that may affect them all differently. So that administration and follow through on joint planning is tough. The places where it's been most successful in Michigan are places where you have like a township and a city or village that plan together, because it allows the village or the township to direct growth to the place with infrastructure. It allows the township to stay relatively rural, and the development, the area they're serving is concrete, and it's relatively small. The places where it's been larger jurisdictions or have been more challenged, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah. One more question, if you're able to answer. So the direction, I'm quite new. I just got elected about a month ago, but the direction that the county is taking to shift away from county zoning authority, what's a reasonable timeline for townships to be able to transact what they need to, and or one of these joint authorities like you just described, because that's kind of going to be the direction of the vote this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Mr. Barber mentioned, you do under state law have the option to adopt what's called an interim ordinance. And that gives you some time. I would say that the trick on that is what happens while you're in the interim place. Who comes with an application? And are you ready to deal with that? Just again, like I said, in the past, this would not be something that as a professional planner, I would be as concerned about for your rural townships. Given our current environment, I think it's really important that they're sure that their ordinances and processes are tight, because they could get an application at any time that has real significant impacts on residents, not just of that township, but of adjacent townships. So like adopting an interim ordinance can happen pretty quick, 90 days-ish. I will say that they still have to appoint a planning commission. So finding a planning commission, adopting an ordinance to establish a planning commission, all of that takes some time. So at a minimum, 90 days, 6 months probably is more reasonable, just to be sure that there's time. I don't know what the experience has been in your township in terms of that process. But 90 days to 6 months, I think, is a reasonable amount of time to be able to have the right officials appointed, have the right people in place, and at least have an interim ordinance up and running. To have a full-scale new plan, new ordinance, you're probably 12 months.
I appreciate it. Oh, yes, yes, Commissioner Toomey.
Love it. Thank you. So I have one question really quick on your 4 townships example, right? Let's say 4 townships, neighboring townships enter into an interlocal agreement to do their zoning. They can then spread the non-exclusionary zoning requirement amongst those 4 townships instead of having to have one of each type of zoning requirement in each township?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's a plus at least. And I will say that in terms of Commissioner Pearl-Wright and Commissioner Barber's points about being revenue neutral and all this kind of stuff, I don't think anybody here is necessarily happy about the direction this is going. This doesn't really help anybody except for the county financially and liability-wise, right? I mean, it's not, in my opinion, not good for the overall character or whatever you want to call it for the planning of the county. But however, we have explored those revenue neutral options, which I know you mentioned and you weren't involved in, but the townships didn't want to participate in that. So that leaves us with very few options on how we're going to move forward. And we can't control what the townships want to do there. So I feel like we're in a situation of which, you know, folks are saying, hey, we want you to keep this service, but also we don't want to contribute any amount for it. And then on top of that, if we say, okay, well, then you can do it yourself, however you want to do it, whether that's with interlocal agreements or by yourself, that's going to cost some amount as well, right? Things just cost money. And so I guess that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. I understand that it is more burdensome. Once again, in my opinion, this is not the way I would like to do things. I would just prefer everybody pitches in for that service. But I guess I'll leave that to the other board members, so.
Okay, well, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Ball? Okay, so I would just think it in my head, right, is we all agree that we don't want to, we want to limit the impact of damage we do to, I mean, because there's going to be damage done to the townships, but we want to limit that to as much as possible, right? And it was established not so much at the Ways and Means, but at the full board meeting, that there can be funding for the personnel that work in that department to function until June 30th due to reducing hours and some other shifting inside that department, let me mind you. Okay, so, and like Mr. Ball said, you know, this could be difficult at times, and we need to make sure that everybody is, you know, have their ordinances tight or establish their boards. My thought is, actually reconfirmed driving over here today, just thinking about it, that we give a day that the ordinance is repealed. However, the zoning office or the employee is still in that office, right? Because at some point, the townships or the joint has to take over, okay? But after they take over, they'll always have they may have a question, right? So if you did a March 31st ordinance repeal, right, that would still leave 120 days where we would have somebody in that office to assist those townships in any question that they had with all that experience. Is that correct?
Yes, can I provide like a clarifying point to that piece of it? When you repeal the ordinance,
Yes.
then the townships cease to have that backing. So the townships would go without having an ordinance until they're able to get up and running. So that's the only difference that it would make, but yes, you are correct.
I think we're sort of passing two boats in the night, right? I'm saying is that the townships stand up their ordinance, and they know they have to have everything as, their interim ordinance established, their boards established. Come 1 April, they take over. However, we have a subject matter expert that can facilitate. And then, yes, Commissioner Gross.
But that extension is funded by permit fees. And once the townships take over issuing permits, there are no permit fees at the county level. So what does that do to the funding out to June?
Yeah.
Well, I will note that when we talked about this at the board meeting, we do have the master plan fund, it's comprehensive plan fund that has $73,000 in it that is outside of the $50,000 that Mr. Ball is working under. So there is money to extend that. That would be the point.
Okay, so we have verification that those funds are available to us for that purpose.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Ball is available, because this is the other key point is even if the township chooses not to join a joint, and come together, with that money, he's going to be able to provide services to each one of those townships. Even if the township chooses to go on its own, he will be able to provide some guidance to that township and their ordinance and their master plan through the agreed time span.
I'm sorry, we don't have a contract for that right now, and that hasn't been a part of any discussion I've had at this point.
Right, that would have to be something talked about that he would have to agree to. And you, as a county, could do that where you're providing a contract with him that he would assist the townships, whether individually for those that are moving, again, he would have to agree to that, or to a joint planning. So he could assist up to a certain point. But these townships need their own legal counsel to review everything that they're doing, regardless if they're going out on their own or to a joint planning commission.
Commissioner Toomey?
I'd just say to give folks more time, especially if they, once again, townships can do what they want to do. If they want to enter into other interlocal agreements, I would rather push that date out closer to April or May, just to give folks more time, because I think that could add a layer of complexity if you're having to coordinate a bunch of different townships and trying to get that up and running. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Okay, so, are we,
I have a question.
oh, yes, Commissioner.
At Ways and Means, correct me if I have something mixed up, but we were talking about how much had already been taken in revenue from the permits. And so we also had quite a discussion about extending it through June 30th, but there was a caveat. We had money from the master plan that we put away every year from the general fund. But also, we didn't know how much was going to be coming in as revenue on the permits. So if we ran out of money prior to June 30th, we were not going to be able to actually do a hard date of June 30th if there was no money, because there's no more general fund to keep paying for people in that office.
Correct.
So-
The only way to do that would be to utilize that 73,000. We did not do that. We have not utilized that funding right now. You'll have that available at the end of this no matter what, unless you spend it. The concern that we had with the using that money, and why we held off, is that right now we're using the MISTA funding. So let's say that we go back to MISTA and we're not gonna complete a plan, and I'm sure about this, if we end doing the plan, they're going to ask for that money back because we didn't follow through with what we're doing. The question would be if they would allow us to continue on, and Mr. Ball talked about that, and we did, that do we have to pay it back if we're doing this to assist the townships? And it's a housing grant, and Claudine can speak to that. It is probably likely that they would want to do that as long as we're meeting the housing criteria of the grant. Is that correct, Claudine?
I would agree.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I don't know.
I mean, well, that's the research that we would have to do. Otherwise, we would be paying back the $21,000+ that's already been spent on the grant and giving back the remainder of the money.
So, Jason, I know you've held off working on the master plan because of all these discussions. So if MISTA was agreeable to amending the grant and you picked that back up, when would that be done and ready for a township to adopt?
Well, again, so the master plan updates that happened were intended to allow small cities and villages to come under the county zoning jurisdiction. So the master plan as it exists today does a fine job of giving townships a place to start from as an interim. It is not complete, right, because it doesn't address those exclusionary zoning issues, but there's no need to amend it. What you have today is fine. In terms of other services that are outside, I mean, everything else remaining in our scope is updating the county zoning code. So if that process became updating the code to serve as a better interim code for those folks, I don't know exactly what that scope would be typically. I mean, we would need a couple of months to be sure that that's appropriate, and want to be able to engage some township folks to be sure we understand what they're looking for.
So let me ask you this, if you were to work with the townships to update the zoning maps to address some of the, if they do a joint or if they're on their own, so if you worked with them to amend those maps, then that would take some time, and then you have that 63-day review period and that adoption. So if you started working with them, let's say January, what would realistically be a time frame that they could have?
Yeah, I mean, if it was a function of doing the maps, honestly, the best people to do that are your county GIS department, not me, because they could actually maintain it then going forward. The county GIS department already has data on how every parcel in the county that's under county jurisdiction is zoned. So that's an easy shift. We could work with the GIS department, but I wouldn't, you know where your townships are at, it makes way more sense to have that live with the county GIS department and repurpose some of the grant to pay for that work from the GIS department than it would to pay me to make a bunch of maps that are static and
I wasn't talking about you changing the maps, I was talking about you working with the townships to adjust the maps.
So, I mean, if that's then, just to clarify, because we're a little bit in the weeds, but today, there are 40-some odd thousand parcels in Eaton County. Every one of those has a zoning classification assigned to it. So we took all those down and we created separate maps for every township. We can make a physical map, but when it comes time to change something on that map, somebody has to have the data in the system to do it. Today, none of those 11 townships have that capability. So that's a big lift on their end, or partnering together, or maybe contract with your county GIS department. I don't know what the answer is to that, but that is a real significant issue for many rural places, is they have a map that is out of date, and that creates significant issues for lots of folks. So it's a long answer, Claudine, I apologize.
I'm just trying to help them understand the timeframes involved and to help give them an idea of where to land on a date.
Yeah, so in terms of the time frame for producing zoning maps, you're looking at probably between 60 and 90 days to be sure that the townships understand what that looks like, with a caveat that real thought needs to be given to what that looks like long-term before a map is produced.
Thank you.
So how much of that grant, oh, sorry. All right, mic's on. How much of that grant did you say we spent already, 21,000?
I believe it's about 21,000.
So if we had to pay that back, could that come out of the 75,000?
Correct.
Okay, so let's say we take out the 21,000 from the 75,000, and we were gonna spend that money on running the department through June. What month does that get us to then, taking out, let's just say let's plan for paying it back if we have to,
We would still be able, if we do that, we would still be able to get through June.
with the funding from the fee structure?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because we talked about reducing the footprint of the office. We talked about in conjunction with this also reducing the footprint of the office. So there are vacancies in construction. So it would be, you'd also be downsizing the footprint of capacity at the same time as you have a reduction in.
Right, so if you use that March 31st date that was mentioned, then the remainder of that time would be staff time assisting, and that's obviously going to be less work than what's being done right now. So through March, you would have all of that, intense work. But after that, it would just be taking calls and assisting. So it wouldn't be as many hours, and we could time dock those hours, and we could restrict it to an amount that we can cover under the budget. So we could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Yes, Commissioner.
So I understand the kind of the spirit of what you proposed. And I like the idea of having, resources from the county to be able to help transition the townships, whether they work jointly or separately, that's up to them. But I guess just as a point of reason with that, it would make sense to me to continue the ordinance until the last possible date, not thinking that the townships would wait until then, because I see action happening all over my district and really in most places of the county. But what that would do is allow them to work through their processes to the finest tune possible before absolutely coming out from under the covering of the permanent ordinance of the county. They're going to adopt an interim ordinance like you'd referenced. But I think you're going to see kind of a taper to the usage of the county, and it may not be all the way until June 30, but I understand I don't get a vote on this committee, but I would advocate for the thought of dually providing resource and that covering until June 30, and giving those townships that hard date and really being able to look them in the eye and say, we've done absolutely everything that we can and that we afford. And I really appreciate all the work that you and the rest of the committee have done to help navigate this. Like Commissioner Toomey said, I don't think this is what anybody wanted, but I think we can do the best for them, and having that person exist for communication as well as being able to transact these things so that we don't limit future development or, near future development and building in the county. Because the other thing that would happen if these townships aren't ready, from listening to some of their lawyers, is that they would issue a moratorium. And that means that they're not going to be able to do some of the transactions and activities that are going to boost the economy in, some of these areas that need it just as much as any other place. So that's what I'm advocating for, is what you're saying with, the amendment of continuing that all the way until June the 30th. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Commissioner Shaver for the most part. And I want to reiterate that we've been talking about this budget thing for almost 2 years. And if the townships have waited till today to make a decision, they've waited too long already. We've been talking to them about what's going to happen. It's inevitable that we will not have funding for planning and zoning on a countywide basis. So while I would like to support them as much as possible, an emphasis on that, it's going to happen. Now, one of the things that I heard this morning that's very disturbing is that it's been indicated that there are predator corporations that think that because farmland is there, it should be a target for whatever they want to put there, regardless of township or county zoning. And therefore, they hire lawyers to sue the dickens out of the poor communities in hopes they can win and force themselves upon the residents. The reality is, planning and zoning is in place to keep that from happening. And it doesn't matter if it's at a county level or a township level. If that predator corporation is going to do it, it's going to do it. And there are 2 townships in Eaton County that, because of that mindset with those corporations, one took on its own planning and zoning and one went to charter. So it's inevitable. If those corporations are going to target our county or a portion of our county, they're going to target them. We've already got some people thinking that they can just come in and do whatever they want. It's disturbing that they think they can come in and take over a community. So I would just tell the townships, that's part of the planning and zoning. That's part of it. Whether it's at the county level or the township level, it's part of planning and zoning. So be prepared. The best thing to do is to get your planning and zoning board together and come up with ordinances, draft an ordinance that restricts that kind of garbage coming into your township. And be prepared. So, I mean, today's the day. We gotta quit kicking this thing around. Today's the day.
To that point then, I guess, Mr. Chair, what motions are you seeking today? What decisions?
I would like this board to come up with a day that, for repealing the zoning ordinance. That's what I'm going to, well, at this point, yes, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking the board to move a motion with a laid-out date of what day the county repeals the zoning ordinance for the county.
Thank you.
I move today's the day. Gotta start somewhere.
You can't. We have
I'm
to
just saying.
We have to publish it, that's. the
I
only
understand,
thing.
I
Right, Claudia?
understand. Sooner than later.
We can't do it today.
I'm not gonna support that one, but I.
No, come on.
All right, then. I make a motion of March 31st. Or, wait a second. Okay. I make the motion of March 31st. Do I have a second?
Support.
Okay. So the motion is to repeal the county zoning ordinance on March 31st of this year. And I have a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, please.
Yeah.
Discussion on the motion, sorry.
Discussion.
Would you be open to a friendly amendment extending that through May 30th or 31st, whichever it is?
So clarify, you want the whole ordinance to go through that, or the office support? Or what are you talking about going through May?
I would like honestly, more to Commissioner Drosch's point, I want the townships to have as much time as possible to really think about how they're going to either combine with other townships to do this or do it on their own in a way that best suits their community, specifically in terms of development that's going to be coming in. And I think the longer that we can give them at the county to hash that out while still being under what is a pretty well thought out plan, I would like that to continue the actual department as close to that June 30th date as possible. I see there's appetite for March, so that's why I kind of came to April or May, because I understand we're not going to get to June.
Okay, so what day did you?
May 31st.
May 31st. Okay, so you're asking for amendment to the motion. Do I have a support for that?
Support.
Okay, you got support. All right, so all in favor to the amendment to the motion, right, of May 31st? Is that?
26.
What? 2026. Yeah, 2026. Can't do it in the past.
Well, I guess I could ask for
No.
20.
No.
Yeah, right. Well,
Okay.
26.
All right, so we're voting on the amendment only. All in favor, signify with aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Nope. The ayes have it. All right, so then we vote on the amended motion, which was, the original motion was March 31st, but the amendment to that motion was just approved on May 31st. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
At what point will we know if we have sufficient funding for that amendment?
I can say right now that we would have sufficient funding for
right.
that. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, thank you.
Because we'll take it.
Okay, and then, one other, so what are we gonna do about, the master, Mr. Ball and his contract?
That would be another motion that you would make to see if taking that through May 31st, and obviously we would have to work on a contract with him. Yeah, if he's willing.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Is he willing?
I think that might be that's for the contract. Not to put him on the spot. I mean,
He's
like,
here. He's here.
I would say the one thing that I think was expressed when we had a discussion was just you're transitioning from a one customer model to a multi-customer model, and not all planning firms necessarily do business like that. So if you do a motion, you might include in there, if not his firm, maybe we are able to go out and try to secure.
Yeah,
just the next
I think that in terms of doing this, it would be something that would be a collective process. It wouldn't be him going to each township and helping them with their plan. They are responsible for that and their legal counsel. So it would just be getting it through a point, and also working with department.
Be educational for
Yes.
the townships. That's what we've talked with Mr. Ball about, not actually doing the work for them, but helping with the educational piece on what they need to do to get ready. And correct me if I'm wrong, was the assumption you were under?
Yeah, so it's option number 2 in your presentation from this morning, right? To explore providing a workshop and potential sort of model materials to help them. Again, we would probably need to take some of those contract funds and also provide some to the Michigan Association of Planning and/or Michigan Townships Association for their support as well. But we could explore doing that. Those costs aren't significantly high. I'm confident we could figure that out with the remaining contract amount if approved by MISTA. That's a big if.
So we would just need a motion to agree with that.
So I need a motion to instruct the administration to coordinate and possibly contract Mr. Ball and his firm's services to provide that education to the townships.
Or some other company?
Or, okay, yeah, or some other company.
So moved.
I guess, okay. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I do want
Oh.
to say though, with the approval from MISTA that this change is okay with
Funded.
the way our grant is.
So and the motion is just to instruct us to work on that. We would have that information by next month in order for you to make the decision on moving forward with an actual contract that would come before you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, then all in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So I just want to be clear for anybody who's listening that the motion was to repeal the zoning ordinance as of May 31st. So that's the recommendation that will go to the full board meeting that the full board will consider in December. So just for anybody watching, I want to make sure they know the date of the next meeting that it'll be talked about.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Ball. All right, so we're moving on to E, the committee appointments.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let
So
Claudine speak
these
first.
appointments were put later on the agenda because they're appointments that are specific to the planning and zoning area. You have to have a planning commission in order to facilitate the planning and zoning services. You've just recommended to the board to extend that to May 31st. So these are the appointments that would need to additionally be recommended to the board so that they can continue their services to the county in that capacity.
But I would like, but the end date would be all changed to, if approved through the board of repealing the zoning ordinance on May 31st, then the end date of all these would.
Or the motion could be until the zoning ordinance is repealed.
Okay, that sounds,
So legally, how it would work is you have to have a planning commission to have a zoning ordinance. So legally, how it would work is the resolution to repeal the zoning ordinance would occur, and then you would do another resolution to pass an ordinance to repeal the planning commission. That's how our attorney says the order of it has to be done.
okay.
We can't do all that.
All right, so, because they were all just reappointments, correct?
Correct.
Yes, there was nobody new, there was just reappointments. to
Correct.
Positions. So I got a motion, do I have support? All right, I have support. All right, well, all in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so at this time, it being 11:30, I ask for a 10-minute recess. We could reconvene at 11:40. Thank you. Yeah, oh, yes.
We have written reports for most of this information. Could we use that written report instead of waiting for a full presentation?
There is action under the Parks and Recreation for a grant. So that's the only thing left that you actually need to take action on.
Okay, so,
Hang out and finish it.
you see my eyes? My eyes are floating over here.
What Commissioner Whitaker's suggestion was, is they have the written reports for the departments that are here.
Yep.
So maybe we don't actually hear from them, but there is one action item from Parks that you would have to hear on a grant.
So do I have we gotta agree upon that, right? Because I agree with it.
You're the chair.
Okay, hey, come on up and let's do this.
So, and Ethan's grant
Nested
grant is quick.
Yeah.
That is quick, Ethan.
Yeah, the
So
nested, yeah.
the grant is for, through the Michigan Bluebird Society. It's not necessarily a monetary value that we would be getting from them. All it is we apply for the grant to start up a bluebird monitoring program at our nature center. They come out, they do a site visit. If they like what we have, they provide us with the bluebird houses, the poles, the baffles, all the stuff to set up a successful monitoring program, and then we go with it. So, any questions?
Why would we not do that?
I got motion and support.
Cool.
All right, so all in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, nothing in miscellaneous?
No.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Oh, wait a second.
I mean, I was hoping to get some more information from the Parks report, but I recognize the need for a recess. So now that vote's been made, could we recess and come back and still hear this report? Because I think we've got some questions on the table. Pardon?
Yeah, I mean, you did move to end it and just read the reports, but, oh, no, you didn't.
No, we
It's
didn't.
up to you. Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah. So you're saying now, okay.
We want to go to the bathroom, I think.
Now
that's-
go to
Yeah,
the.
let's take a recess.
All right, so it's 11:32, we'll be back here at 11:42.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you're not here, that's okay.
Yeah, gotta go, you gotta go.
Jeez, oh, Pete. Here, let me turn on my mic. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Heavenly days.
All right, we're back in. So Ethan, yes, would you please come up? Commissioner DeRosa had a question for you.
Sure. Do you want me to go through the whole report, or you have a specific question, or?
Well, I just.
No.
Mic on. I've been asked repeatedly, because I'm so close to Crandall, it's in my district, what our progress is on that. And I will reiterate, just so it's on the record, that we've had our Parks Millage going on almost 4 years now. And they're asking for a progress report. And I was just wondering, before you answer that, is it possible to put signage up out at Crandall at the main drive, nothing expensive, don't get me wrong, nothing fancy, that outlines the steps we're gonna take in the next 2, 3, 4 years at Crandall, so everybody understands, yep, we're still focused on it, it just takes time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Initially, when the property was purchased, there was a sign by the parking lot that outlined some ideas that a group of individuals had come up with for the park. Our strategic plan is on the website, so individuals can click on that, read through it, all the park specifics for Crandall. But, you know, we have money in our budget to put up a sign. We could definitely put up probably the most recent map, I would imagine, Claudine, from Williams and Works, that just has those bullet points on what is coming. But yeah, and then as far as progress moving forward, this spring, I believe Chad is still working with some contractors to get engineering plans done up to put a road in off of Flanders, so that'll be happening soon. And then also, this past month, I met with a representative from the Fish and Wildlife Service. That works with the Partners for Fish and Wildlife program. So this is a program through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that provides funding to municipalities to restore land to the habitat that was there prior. So with funding from that, it's not a grant, it's just given. They were interested in the project, and we will be reseeding the northwestern field of Crandall and opening that area up for more trails, more hiking, and all of that is in preparation for an eventual nature center that is in the strategic plan. So we're prepping the site now, that way we actually have, you know, a quality habitat there for those programs in the future. And then that area will also be where we have an outdoor amphitheater, sledding hill, stuff like that, so.
All right. My wife and I spent the last week in Georgia, and on our trip back, we came across, and I wish I had time to stop when I saw the sign, and I didn't, but it was a school district, and I think it was in South Carolina where we drove past it. It said, certain school district agricultural learning center. And I thought, what a great idea for Crandall Park. Whatever wing we decide to set aside, it was a nice building. I mean, the building was impressive on its own. But you could see in the back behind that building different, I mean, I noticed them, my wife didn't so much, but I noticed them being a farm boy. They had corn in one spot, looked like beans. I'm not sure what else the other 2, 3 plots were. They were all harvested, but you could tell what had been in there. But I thought, what a great learning thing to incorporate into that park in conjunction with our local school districts.
Yeah, you know, partnering with schools is a really important part of what Parks does. I mean, we do a lot through Annie's Big Nature Lesson up at Lincoln Brick Park. At Crandall, we're actually working with a teacher from Charlotte Public Schools to do a smaller scale prairie restoration in the southern end of Crandall. She actually just finished applying for a WAM grant to buy seed to do that. And then the Parks Department will be having some lessons out there, as well as, I want to say Pheasants Forever has agreed to do some lessons out there as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do something like that in the future, especially once we have more of those, that infrastructure built to have those lessons.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said southern end. Why would you use the southern end instead of the northeastern corner? Or the
So that
northwestern corner?
northwestern corner, you know, that has already been planted with soybeans, so the soil is ready to have that Michigan genotype seed planted there. this spring, and that would be done through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Designs by Nature. That's a company that we're going to be working with. But in the southern section, it's more easily accessible for students to get to, as well as in conversations with that teacher, they want to focus it more on lupin and some specific pollinators that kind of line up more with their curriculum. So it's a little bit different project, but still good for the park.
This one we drove by was not a bunch of small plots. It was, I would say, I'd estimate probably 50 acres anyway. So they harvested off of there. They had the equipment come in and do it, so it wasn't a small operation. But
Yeah.
I would like to see something large if we could, just to let the kids that don't understand agriculture, this is where your food really comes from. It's not from Meijer or Walmart.
Yeah.
It's out of the ground.
Yeah, I mean, we work, Smuts Farms, we work with them on, I just started talking with him today, but, you know, maybe that's something in the future that we visit if he's willing to do a lesson or something.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay,
Miscellaneous,
thank you, guys.
public comment? We don't have any public comment? Huh? Who's gonna give public comment?
Were you going to give public comment, Ben?
No, I
Oh, okay.
I zone out.
And- All right, so that leaves us at number 13, adjournment. Will we leave that up, changing the meeting day? We leave that up to,
Committee on committees at the organizational meeting.
okay. So we don't know when the January meeting will be. It possibly could be the first Wednesday of the month, but it could also be the second Wednesday of the month. So, yep. So look forward to us in January sometime. All right, so if nothing else, adjourn.